Hello and welcome. Today I'm taking a bit of a skinny dip into Skinwalkers at the Pentagon. As I mentioned in my other video, where I covered Hunt for the Skinwalker, when I do my Hoax or Holy Grail episode and take a much deeper dive into the information that they've covered. The first book, Hunt for Skinwalker Ranch, was published in 2005, and it's based on the research that was done at the ranch purchased by Robert Bigelow from the Gorman family. Skinwalkers at the Pentagon was published in 2021. As it states on the first page, Department of Defense, Defense Office of Pre-Publication and Security Review, Case 20 SB 0058, cleared for public release May 11th, 2021. It goes on to say that, although the Department of Defense cleared it for release, it does not imply Department of Defense endorsement or factual accuracy of the material. In other words, they've allowed it to be released, but it doesn't mean that they're agreeing with everything that's in this book. It just means they haven't violated any security or confidentiality issues. One thing that I very much appreciated in this particular book, because if you have looked into some of these issues, whether it has to do with the ranch, whether it has to do with UFOs or such things, there are a plethora of short forms. At the beginning of this book, you can see there are quite a number of agencies and the various short forms. So I appreciated having a key to those abbreviations at the beginning of the book. It certainly makes it somewhat easier that you can flip back and forth. The authors of this book are James T. Lacatski, Colm A. Kelleher, and George Knapp. Kelleher and Knapp are the two authors from Hunt for the Skinwalker, the book that was published in 2005. James T. Lacatski is new to this publication. This one, of course, gets much deeper into the government, who was funding the program, how all that came to be, how did Robert Bigelow's company come to get $22 million over 2 years. It talks about the application process. It says Bigelow was the only one who actually applied. It lays out the criteria and the expectations of what they wanted specifically looked into. In this case, it was unidentified flying objects or unidentified aerial phenomena, as they're now referred to. So it really lays things out, unlike some groups where they believe there's a conspiracy of how Bigelow got the money, which agency was getting the money. There's so many different names and so many different departments involved. It talks again about the ranch and the different experiences and things that were happening. But this one adds even an extra layer to what was going on, and it really wasn't touched on in the 2005 book, which I found a bit odd, considering this one delves so much more into the government and all of that type of thing. But it's talking about the various people who came to the ranch to do some investigations from different government agencies, and yet when they went home, things were starting to happen at their home, and not just to them, but to their families. So what they referred to in this book is called the hitchhiker. And there are various theories presented about what that is, why people were seeing certain creatures in their areas, not at the ranch. And these homes are thousands of miles away from the ranch. So it isn't like they were just close by and the thing literally followed them home. So there are some very different aspects to what's going on presented in this book compared to what was talked about in Hunt for the Skinwalker. I also find it very odd, shall we say, that it wasn't mentioned with the scientists initially. This is mentioned with other people and other types of organizations. So again, and maybe it's just me, but I find that a bit hinky. I mean, if it was that big a deal and this is impacting people, not just at the ranch, but their families, there were different diseases that came up. And again, I'll talk in detail more about that as I do a deep dive into these books in the Hoax and Holy Grail episode. There were just, I don't know. And again, I'm not saying that people are intentionally lying or that this is being made up to promote the location, mainly because there are the oral traditions from the Native Americans in that area. So there is something going on in that location. I'm just not sure what it is and how much of this has maybe been precipitated or made worse by what is it about that property that the original owners prior to the Gormans allowed to happen on their land and they left it for 7 years. I mean, to me, that's a big, why didn't anyone approach the original owners? They're just in Salt Lake City, which is not that far from the ranch. It would have been very easy to go ask them, why did you leave the property vacant for 7 years? I mean, it does mention they checked on it now and again, but they weren't living there. Why would you put a stipulation on the sale that if you're going to dig on the property, tell us? That seems a bit bizarre, but no one asked, including the scientists, including Bigelow. Bigelow has since sold the property at a massive profit because let's be serious, you have a property in these days, 2024 and before, you have a property that's known to have all these variety of anomalies and it's paranormal's big business. You've certainly seen, if you watch any of the paranormal channels, and people are now coming forward and saying what they're paying, and it can be anywhere from, say, $700 a night to $2,000 a night US. And that isn't for the whole night. That may just be for a few hours. That in itself makes various things questionable. I'm not implying that what's reported in this book didn't happen or that these people didn't get health issues. I'm just not sure it's paranormal in terms of what impacted them as far as the health issues, because they're very serious issues. There's something going on. It's just very questionable, what is it actually related to, or is there an everyday explanation for it? Like Hunt for the Skinwalker, I do think Skinwalker at the Pentagon is definitely an important and useful read if you're interested in the ranch, if you're interested in different anomalies. In this case, it was looked into by scientists. That, again, there is no definitive proof or answers, but it does bring up a variety of different questions. Let me know in the comments down below if you've read either of these books. What were your thoughts? And do you know of some other books about the ranch in particular that may be of interest to read, or some other authors who have talked about this? And until next time, make sure nothing follows you home and take good care.